Change requires dedication and it requires practice. Well, let's bring this back to the whole point of this episode, which is that trauma is not solved or released, discharged, relieved all at once. It's not a linear process. You'll have moments of stepping forward where you feel like the stuck traumatized state is not dominating your day-to-day existence. But yeah, you'll have those moments where it's kind of creeping up on you or feels like it's eking out or leaking out or exploding maybe even. We don't want that to happen. Ideally, we want the safety state strong enough to be able to handle that so the explosion doesn't happen. But there might be moments of that as well. There could be. So it's not linear, it's not all at once, and it might feel like you're taking steps backwards. Change then requires dedication, it requires practice. You probably already know that. Making change is gradual, and that definitely includes developing the strength of your vagal brake. It is a gradual process. You need to have, or I would recommend that you have, some sort of a dedicated practice, like maybe there's, some mindfulness or meditation or an Instagram guru that you follow. Be careful with them, by the way. I was one of them. I'm not there anymore, but be careful with them. So there might be something that you have in place that you can dedicate yourself to on a regular basis to help you work on your trauma. I think that's great. I have my own course that's called Building Safety Anchors, and that is specifically designed to teach you how to identify safety and then how to practice and to build the strength of your safety state. You can find that on justinlmft.com/buildsafety. Yeah, change requires dedication. It requires practice. With my therapy clients, we're able to access safety pretty much in each session. I can get them there, or I can work with them to get them there through co-regulation, through somatic techniques. So we're able to get there pretty much each session, and then we can stretch the capacity of their vagal brake through working on their defensive state and then coming back to safety. And I always give them, some sort of homework to do between that session and the next time that I meet with them. And that's part of that dedication. That's part of that practice, is coming in to do therapy, whether it's weekly or biweekly or whatever. And then also the stuff in between to continually work on building the strength of your vagal brake so that you can work more directly on the trauma when you're ready to, once the vagal brake is ready to do so. Building the safety pathways is the primary concern, though. I do challenge and I work with my clients to further feel into their defensive state as they're ready for it. But, for the most part, at the beginning stages, we're not really doing that. It's a bit much. It's too much, or a lot too much. So I work with them on building that safety pathway. You have to do that. And so I know therapy is different. Maybe you're in therapy, but you might just be doing your own self-regulation, mindfulness, meditation, unstucking sort of practice. So yeah, therapy is different, but the dedicated practice, that's what I want you to get from this, is whether you're in therapy regularly or you're doing your own self-regulation practice regularly, the point is dedicated practice. In therapy, there's, weekly sessions with homework. For you in your own self-regulation practice, maybe it's a daily, 15-minute thing. I don't know. But you set up a daily or some sort of routine that you can continually rely on and set yourself on that path to build your vagal brake strength so that you can eventually work more directly on your stuck state. Again, it's not an all or one or all or nothing thing. This trauma stuff, it's not an all or nothing thing. It's not released all at once, as best I can tell. Your trauma work might feel, or it's the image I have in my mind, is that it's like you're moving forward. And it's like I imagine like this army, like marching forward. The army to me is the strength of your safety state. It's the progress of the safety state. And so hopefully that army, that front line, is bolstered enough and strong enough to be able to hold the line as you move forward and attempt to work more directly on the stuck defensive state and actually experiencing it on a sensation level and an impulse level or an emotional level or even cognitive. So, or even delving into the trauma narrative if that's what you're working on. So hopefully that safety state is strong enough to hold that front line and just slowly move forward into the stuck defensive state, not all at once. And then as you slowly move forward, you might realize, some stuff's coming up. And so the front line just stops. It stops. It makes sure that it is refortified with everything it needs, metaphorically. In the real world, as you're developing that vagal brake strength and then working on the stuck defensive state, you hold the line. You replant yourself firmly in your safety state as much as you can. So basically you recover from, if you notice some dysregulation coming up, you plant yourself right back on that front line, right back in the safety state. And that, where you go into a bit of the defensive state, notice what you're capable of, and then plant yourself back in your safety state. That process will help you to build the strength of those safety pathways, to be able to go down the ladder purposefully and mindfully, and then come right back up, re-anchor yourself in safety. That will help to build those pathways. So the image in my mind, the metaphor is an army just sort of slowly marching forward. As a little bit of dysregulation happens, we stop, plant ourselves squarely back into the safety state. And then once we're re-anchored and well-regulated, then you keep marching forward into that stuck defensive state. So I want you to be patient with yourself, fellow stuck. Now, that's really kind of how to sum this up. It's not all at once. I was wrong when I was learning this stuff. I don't want you to make that same mistake and expect that, one-time trauma-releasing home run kind of thing. So I really invite you to be as patient with yourself as you can. Change will happen. And if you're focusing and using some sort of practice, whether it's building safety anchors, my course, or something else, as long as you're moving forward and doing this intentionally and not pushing yourself too far, I believe change is very much possible. As you build your safety state, the defensive stuff should ease up more and more and more, especially if you're not pushing it and delving into it before you're ready to. So have that dedicated practice, whatever it is, have that in place and do it, really do it. I would encourage you to focus more on the safety state versus the trauma narrative or the stuck defensive state until you're ready for it. And yeah, when you see those little wins, when you notice that your army front line is marching forward, celebrate it. Notice it. Give yourself a little bit of praise or encouragement. Whatever helps you just to kind of notice it. Maybe it's just like feeling it for a moment and closing your eyes and feeling what success feels like just for a moment. That's totally fine. Give yourself that, please. And when you have setbacks, notice those too, but learn from them, rededicate yourself to your practice, keep anchoring in safety, hold that front line, and when you're ready to, keep marching forward.
This podcast is not therapy, not intended to be therapy or be a replacement for therapy. Nothing in this creates or indicates a therapeutic relationship. Please consult with your therapist or seek for one in your area if you are experiencing mental health symptoms. Nothing in this podcast should be construed to be specific life advice. It is for educational and entertainment purposes only. More resources are available in the description of this episode and in the footer of justinlft.com.